Good evening, friends. In last class, we have discussed some topics about different types of variables and some basic requirements of teaching. In this session, we will move with the next concept, that is concept of learning. Here without learning, a human can't do anything. That's why here learning is a key concept in human behavior. With the help of learning, he will learns everything, every informations, every achievements, and every failures in life, that all happens with the help of learning. That's why here learning, it is what it is defined as a relatively permanent change in behavior that occurs as a result of experience and practice. Without experience, you can't learn so many things. That's why here learning is very important. Here some of the important elements of learning as follows. What here? Learning is a change in behavior. Learning is a change in behavior. This change takes place through experience or practice. Here, this change takes place through experience or practice. It will, what happens here? Through the experience or practice. Here, some of the learning will changes takes place, and also here this will learning here, due to learning, changes also takes place, that is due to growth and maturation. Changes due to growth and maturation, and inquiry cannot be considered as learning. So here relatively permanent change in the behavior that occurs through by the learning, that is the some of the learning responses must last for a fairly long time. Fairly long time. Fairly long time happens through the learning activities. That's why learning is very important. Here meaning and definition as follows. Due to various concept of learning, following some of the definitions as follows. Here you see the learning as a process. According to Hilgard, what it tells about learning, Hilgard, an exponent in the field of learning, says here learning is the activity that is the originates or is changed through the training procedures. Through the training procedures. What according to Bernard? Bernard takes learning as a process by which an organism satisfying the motivation, adopts and here some of the adjustments and here situations, according to situations, some of the modifying its behaviors in order to overcome obstacles and barriers. According to Bernard, learning is the one of the important definitions. So here, what learning has changed in performance? Here, learning has we measure its change in performance as a function of practice. As well as the function of practice. Okay. Without practice, we can't learn so many things. With the help of learning, we achieve so many things. Learning as acquisition and retention also takes place according to Crow and Skinner. Here, what happens? Crow, he will tell learning involves the acquisition of habits, knowledge, and attitudes. What Skinner he will tells about the learning. Skinner also includes in learning both acquisition and retention. So here some of the characters of the learning as follows. So what are the characters of the learning? Here we analyze learning is the modification of behavior. Yes. Learning is purposive. Yes. Just learning is a continuous process. Yes, that's why happens here. So many situations will arise, so many mistakes will do. So we learn so many things. So it is a continuous process, not the living process, not a discontinuous process. So here learning is one of the important continuous process. Learning is a universal phenomenon, and learning is progressive and development. Learning is transferable. Here learning happens from one person to another person. And these are here learning includes all the three aspects of the human behavior. What happens here? Learning includes all the three aspects of the human behavior. Types of learning here: conditioning, and you see motor learning, discrimination learning, verbal learning, and concept learning, problem solving learning. So these are the almost major types of learning that will happen in case of humans. Here conditioning learning also takes place. Here you see CRS and the CS rules. What are the CR and the CS rules? Here the CS means here conditional stimulus, and CR rules means here conditional response. So these all takes place in case of the classical conditioning and operant learning and aversive conditioning. So here in case of motor learning, what happens in case of motor learning? It is also labeled as psychomotor learning or the skill learning. Such as you see the motor learning that will happen in that is when you are swimming, when you are driving a car. So these are all the motor learning activities. So in case of discrimination learning, we see that animal and human beings discriminate between a number of things in the daily life. So here differentiation between my mother and a stranger, a dog and a doll. That is a test of learning. These are all happens in case of the discrimination learning. Here in case of verbal learning, here you see the most important kind of learning for human beings because it involves words and the formal education situations, and you see the most type of verbal learning. Here the most informal learning in older children and adults occur by the verbal route. And also many time that is you see many learning of language and thought onto the other the some of the information that are gathered by the some of the persons, and person to person here verbal learning also takes place. Okay, so very very important verbal learning also here, the important types of learning. Next, concept learning. When you hear try to learn about some various stimuli of the environment and attach to verbal labels from them, such as a house, wood, fruit, and a man and a girl, where they will learn most of the activity by the concepts. Power of thinking and judgment is developed, and the individual becomes capable of solving problem in his own way. So here these are the conceptual learning takes place. Next is problem solving. Here the problem solving is the Gestalt psychologist. Here the problem solving is the Gestalt psychologist. He discovers something about the relationship between the environment by some manipulation factors. Here the problem solving in human beings and the higher animals like chimpanzees is certainly more than operant conditioning. So that's why here Gestalt psychologists have made a series of experiments in this direction of the problem solving. So these are the important types of learning. In next class, we will go for the characters of learning. Thank you.